Okay, wir sollten jetzt live sein und wir fangen zuerst ein bisschen in Deutsch an. Ich möchte alle, die jetzt vor den Bildschirmen oder von anderen Geräten sitzen, begrüßen, dass sie jetzt hier sind. Wir haben einerseits Emily und Jonas von Hillside Projects, die Sie oben lächelnd sehen und in Stockholm sitzen. Und wir haben Frau Karlsson, Botschaftsrätin an der schwedischen Botschaft in Berlin. Ich sage nur kurz, was der Ablauf ist, und dann mache ich das Ganze nochmal auf Englisch, falls jemand Englischsprachiges da ist. Frau Karlsson wird die Ausstellung eröffnen und ein paar Grußworte sprechen. Danach haben wir eine kleine Videotour durch die Ausstellung vorbereitet, sodass man auch einen kleinen Eindruck davon bekommt, was man hier sehen würde. Emily und Jonas erzählen ein bisschen etwas zur Vorgeschichte der Arbeiten. Und am Schluss, wenn alle durchhalten, dann öffnen wir noch einen Sekt und vielleicht stoßen wir dann alle virtuell zusammen an. Okay, ich wechsle jetzt auf Englisch. I'm switching now to English, so if we have English-speaking people, so they are happy now, and all the others, I hope they can also follow. Just a short introduction on how we will proceed. First of all, I would like to welcome Emily and Jonas, the artists of Hillside Project. You see them on the top, they're giving their hand signs. And Mrs. Karlsson, the Counselor for Culture at the Swedish Embassy in Berlin. She will give some greeting words and open the exhibition officially. So we are really happy and pleased that she's here and joining us to this event. After that, we have a little video tour prepared through the exhibition. And we will talk a little bit. Emily and Jonas will give some back insights of how they work and how they developed the exhibition actually present here now. And then if you stay until the end, we will open a little bottle of champagne and maybe we can cheer to each other. So I would like to give over the word to Mrs. Karlsson, who will do the opening and the introduction back in German again. So.
Thank you. Thank you a lot. Sehr geehrte Frau Voigt, liebes Künstlerduo, kära konstnärer, Emily Berry-Mennerdahl und Jonas Böttern, liebes Publikum, ich freue mich sehr über die Ehre, nach einem langen und kulturarmen Winter bei dieser Ausstellungseröffnung ein Grußwort zu halten. Endlich ist es wieder möglich, Kunst und Kultur analog zu erleben, auch wenn immer noch mit Einschränkungen. In dieser Zeit, in der wir an Kultur nur in Form von Büchern, Filmen und als digitale Formate zu Hause auf der Couch teilnehmen konnten, hat es viele Menschen zum Ausgleich raus in die Natur geschlagen. Es hat sich gezeigt, wie gut uns die Natur tut und wie abhängig wir auch von ihr sind. Die Natur dagegen ist nicht von uns Menschen abhängig. Hier hat die Pandemie tatsächlich eine dringend notwendige Pause von uns verschafft. Ist es nicht seltsam, dass wir Menschen mit der Natur so schlecht umgehen, obwohl wir sie ja nicht nur brauchen, sondern innigst lieben? Die Natur spielt auch eine wichtige Rolle für das schwedische Selbstverständnis. Das ist tatsächlich kein Klischee. Unser ausgeprägtes Verhältnis zur Natur spiegelt sich im Werk vieler schwedischer Kunstschaffender wider. Das war schon so bei dem berühmten Maler Anders Zorn, der zwischen dem 19. und dem 20. Jahrhundert seine Porträtmotive in der Natur ansiedelte. So wie bei dem 1978 verstorbenen Dichter und Nobelpreisträger Harry Martinson, dessen Naturessays Schwärmer und Schnaken vor kurzem auf Deutsch erschienen sind und dessen dystopisches Versepos Aniara, in dem am Ende die Menschheit ausstirbt, vor 3 Jahren verfilmt wurde. Eine zeitgenössische schwedische Position besitzt das Künstlerduo Hillside Project mit Emily Berry Mennedahl und Jonas Böttern. Diese Ausstellung setzt sich mit dem Artensterben auseinander. Und sie tut es, indem sie die Trauer in den Mittelpunkt stellt. Obwohl das Artensterben auf uns Menschen zurückgeht, sind wir es, die um die Arten trauern. Diese Ausstellung gibt den Tieren ihre Stimme zurück. Was hätten uns die Letzten ihrer Spezies verraten können über den Menschen, die Welt und ihren Verlust? Wir leben in einer Zeit, die als 6. Massensterben bekannt geworden ist. Und laut Forschern sterben jedes Jahr Tausende von Arten aus. Die Liebe der SchwedInnen zur Natur scheint mir ebenfalls der Ursprung dafür zu sein, dass Schweden in Sachen Nachhaltigkeit und Klimaschutz eine Vorreiterrolle einnimmt. Eine reiche biologische Vielfalt und eine ökologische Balance sind wesentlich für jegliches Leben auf der Welt. Für Schweden hat der Schutz der biologischen Vielfalt eine sehr hohe Priorität. So arbeitet Schweden bewusst mit der Umsetzung der Agenda 2030 der Vereinten Nationen. Dieses Jahr können Sie sich zum Beispiel die Ausstellung namens Die Herausforderung annehmen, Schweden und die Agenda 2030 virtuell ansehen und mehr über Schwedens Arbeit mit den Nachhaltigkeitszielen und dem Schutz der Artenvielfalt lernen. Die heutige Ausstellung Memorial for the Lost wirft viele Fragen über unseren Umgang mit der Tier- und Pflanzenwelt auf. Die dringlichste aller Fragen scheint mir die, warum wir etwas zerstören, das uns zutiefst wichtig ist. In der Ausstellungsankündigung steht, das Trauern bringt uns das Verlorene nicht zurück, aber es bietet die Chance, innezuhalten. Innehalten ist der erste Schritt in einem Prozess des Bewusstwerdens, der dringend notwendig ist, um Veränderung hervorzurufen. Vermutlich ist die Zeit, in der wir jetzt leben, die bestmögliche, um innezuhalten. Wir sollten sie also nutzen, denn wer weiß schon, was daraus nicht alles entstehen könnte. Vielen Dank und viel Vergnügen bei der Ausstellung. Dankeschön.
Thank you a lot for your very nice speech, and I also think it made a good connection between the exhibition and our current situation and the issues we have ahead for the next centuries, I would say. So
thank you.
Thank you very much. I will now have to manipulate a little bit to get the video to you on the screen. They just now say, I didn't see anything of that before. It's whenever you test something and then in real, the situation is completely different. We have to struggle a little bit through that. And Okay, now we almost have it. Okay. So you should see the situation of the exhibition space in which we are standing now. And I just start. And maybe Emily and Jonas, you might comment on what we are seeing. We are now in the front space. That's where the exhibition actually starts. And we have this 6 wall hanging textile installations. we are still looking for words how to describe it. So maybe you want to say something about what we are seeing here?
For these 6 wall hangings, and the title for all of them is "You Were All Extinct Before You Were Born," and each image on the fabric is a blown up image from an archive image of an extinct species, the last individual of that kind before it went extinct. And this actually has a name, and it's endlings. And this name sort of started being used in 2001, I think, after an exhibition in Australia where they were really looking at sort of the last individual of a species. And this is part of our whole project called Memorial for the Lost, which really looks at the last individuals of sort of famous last individuals of a species before they went extinct. And then we decided to work with fabric in creating this installation by sort of giving these species that are gone, sort of embodying them through the fabric and through their movement and tactility.
Yeah, and so they are actually all representation of someone that actually lived once, and someone that was the last of that lineage. Like if I was the last human, I would be an endling. That is the meaning of it. And this one we're looking at now is called Incas. And Incas was a parakeet bird that was the last of its kind. So this work here also correlates with work we will look at further, which is a video work. So they're closely related in the sense that in the video work we're working with these specific embodiments of these endlings. Yeah.
And
So
the fabric. Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I was going to say
You want to move?
these fabric wall hangings are actually part of their own installation within the video work as well. So, but here they're sort of placed in the gallery and there's wall hangings.
And then we had the image is of the endling, and then the framing one could border. Yes, a border is supposed to resemble in Swedish. It's called sorgeband. It's something that is being used in funerals that you put above the casket, like a band. So they typically be in these kind of colorings that we have chosen here. So each of these endlings here have their own kind of sorgeband in a specific color. So that was the idea for that. Yeah.
But does
and
colors anything, or are there just traditional colors used for that?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we did that work together with my mom, actually. She helped us making these borders. Yeah. So yeah. And yes, what else should we?
No, I think there's one of the fabrics and the wall hangings is from Martha. A lot of people know about Martha, the passenger pigeon. They've sort of become famous, these last ones. And Martha, the passenger pigeon, was a passenger pigeon, and she was the last one, but she was also always in captivity. And that's why we have the title is You Were All Extinct Before You Were Gone, because even though Martha existed, meaning that the passenger pigeon still existed, she was the last. So in a sense, her species was already extinct. I mean, there was no hope to salvage it. So that's where the title comes from, that you were all extinct before you were born. Yeah.
And this whole exhibition, one could say, is or especially is specifically more the video, is part of a trilogy we've been working on for quite a few years now, which is about on the topic of extinction, where we're kind of trying to look at it from different angles. And this specific angle for this project is more, it's about trying to make something ungraspable as extinction, something most people cannot really relate to in their own personal life. So it was a way for us to see how could we actually feel and relate to it. And then the idea of the endling was kind of powerful, because with an endling, you get a name on someone, so it becomes personal. Then we can kind of, it makes it more graspable. And then the idea for mourning as a way of trying to mourn someone is also trying to accept what has happened, and maybe it's a way to see that maybe we should change. So it's a way for us to feel like, it's a, and even though I say a name.
What do you think? Shall we move on to the backspace or the video situation? The whole video is 20 minutes, so we made a really short impression thing. So don't worry. You have to come here to see the whole and the real. So that's so after this. We're moving now back to the backspace of the exhibition.
Exhibited in a family mausoleum, pelt and skeleton on display, inside a galvanized metal cabinet. But this is not Benjamin. His remains were thrown away upon his death. Shot, burned, trapped, attacked, poisoned, asphyxiated, wholesale slaughter, smoked, dried, smoked, jerked. You were part of an evolutionary genius hunted out of existence. Shot, trapped, burned, poisoned, asphyxiated.
So now we're back. So that was the backspace. So you already mentioned the video and the connection between the textile installations and the video work. Would you like to say a few words more about the video, maybe?
Yeah. Excuse me.
Yeah. Well, the video is 20 minutes long, and it's this sort of the narratives of these 6 individuals, of these endlings, the sort of overlap and create this sort of layered and intertwined narrative of sort of their life and experience and their death. And it's Celia, the Pyrenean ibex, it's Celia's cloned baby, which was, they managed to clone Celia, and the clone survived for, I think, 4 minutes, but then it died of a collapsed lung. So that was sort of an attempt to bring back an extinct species, and it worked for 4 minutes. But so it felt important to have Celia's baby as part of it. And then there's Benjamin, the Tasmanian tiger, Incas, the parakeet, who have I forgotten?
Kawau.
Kauai, I don't know how to pronounce it, Kauai, that's a bird, a Hawaiian bird. So their sort of narratives, this fictive narrative we've written sort of overlaps and moves through this video at the same time as the camera moves through this forest and this sort of healing process that culminates in this triangular installation in the forest where with these 4 fabrics and in an attempt to sort of embody these 6 more than humans. And then with a soundscape as well, that sort of points towards a sort of healing process. And so I guess it's an attempt to sort of, through sort of healing, to relearn the world and do different. And
we worked a lot with the soundscape. For example, with the Hawaiian singing bird, there is a famous recording. Someone made a recording with this specific bird, its mating call. So it is part in the movie. We could hear the mating call calling to someone who never comes, because it's the last ones. It's kind of a powerful and sad. But also we recorded singing bowls, which is used for meditation, because we recorded it in India. Actually, when we were in India, we did healing with singing bowls together with the healer. So we made a recording of that, and that is also very present in the video. You could actually see these bowls as well in the video.
I can also say it's really nice to see it installed, because obviously we're in Sweden and we haven't been able to be there and see it installed, but it looks really nice. And so thank you, Sibyl.
Thank you. Maybe we have to say actually how we set up the exhibition. You're in Sweden and you never came to Bonn, so we just got the parcel with the textile installation, and we got the video digitally, of course, and we got your instructions what your concept is. So we tried to set up the exhibition in this kind of distance communication, and but of course in this case it also helps that due to the field you work in, you by yourself also try to avoid extensive traveling and flights, etc. So actually, I think it's also good to see that you can set up a really beautiful and really cool exhibition that way. So of course it would be nice to have you here and to talk much more with each other, but the distance and the not traveling is not really hindering not to get art across borders, I would say. So it's maybe also something which is good to experience and to see in this time. And I think we sort of could stop here. I mean, we don't really have to extend it for a long time. We will have a separate artist conversation coming on later on. So we will communicate that over our channel, and we will have much more time to talk with you in depth about your work, not only about what is present here now at Das Esszimmer, but also in general, since we have this joint project with SEA Foundation in Tilburg. It's a space we are used to work with on a irregular base. So you will be also doing something there, and Riet van Gerven, who is also in charge of the space there, she will then do the artist talk with you. So I think bringing together actually then both exhibitions and projects from Tilburg and Bonn. So I think that's going to be quite interesting. So I think we should open the bottles now. We have something? We have something.
Yes, we have something.
I don't know if I can open this thing here. Okay, I give it to my interns. They are much better. You're faster.
Yeah.
You already did that before?
It's already.
We're well prepared.
Yeah. We're just waiting. Yeah. No, but actually, it's like this. It suits our methodology pretty well. This whole COVID situation, where you say like we tried to work with materials that are not too big, or we try to be flexible. That's also that advantage of the big fabrics, that you can easily fold and package them and send them across the world, and then they unfold really big, but they can also be very small. So we're always trying to be very mobile, thinking that we can create an exhibition just from a suitcase. Just a small suitcase, we can still fill up a space. You know, you just need to be creative, and this has been a strive for us for many years already. So we're ready to take on the new times in that sense. We don't need, the world doesn't need too much stuff anyway, I think, you know. So we also work a lot with performance. We will try to do, originally we were supposed to do performance work as well on the exhibition, but now we have to adapt with that as well, I think. But yeah.
You're all very flexible, so
yeah. Yes. Okay. Skål.
Cheers.
Cheers.
exhibition and
Skål.
here my interns who have a lot of background work you don't see. It's Carlson, thank you, and to everybody who is still joining us in this live stream, and just to the next time, I would say. So we will cut now the live stream so everybody can continue drinking privately.
Yes.
But thank you.
Thank you for staying.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Amazing work, Steven.
See you another time.
Yeah.
Bye.